Hey, and welcome back to the channel. This time I'm doing a movie from South Africa, and it's the first movie from South Africa that I've done on the channel. And as you know, I'm interested in filmmaking from countries that normally don't do a lot of filmmaking, or at least at the time this movie was made, didn't do a lot of filmmaking. And South Africa in 1973, when this film was made, wasn't doing a lot of filmmaking that other people saw. It was during the depths of the Apartheid era. It was a time of brutality and racism and marginalisation of the whole country. Countries started to not deal with South Africa because of its racism. And yet, a blaxploitation movie of sorts was made in 1973 in Johannesburg with an entirely black cast. It was an incredibly low-budget project. It wasn't made by people who were really great at filmmaking. But it's got a Blu-ray release, and it is called Joe Bullitt. It stars Ken Gampu, who people might remember best as the main guy chasing Cornell Wilde in that great 1965 movie The Naked Prey, which got a Criterion release. But Joe Bullitt stars Ken Gampu as Joe Bullitt, a private eye kind of guy, very slick, very suave kind of guy, a bit of a John Shaft in Johannesburg. And this movie was nearly lost. The producer, Tony van der Merwe, saved the film while he was going from house to house over 40 years. He kept the cans in his garage wherever he moved to, and the movie was preserved in that way. A guy kept the movie in his garage for 40 years. He moved around South Africa, and then fairly recently it re-emerged and was shown at a film festival. Now, when it was made, it only got shown 2 times in Soweto in South Africa before the South African apartheid government closed it down and banned the film because it had an all-black cast with no white people in it. It went against their cultural bullshit about the nature of race. And it's kind of a fun movie for that reason. It's a film that is not professionally made, but has an energy and has a passion and shows some almost documentary stuff about what life was like for black people in the 1970s in South Africa. And there's not a lot of footage of that. There are 2 black football teams involved, one called the Eagles, and the Eagles are being hassled by a gangster to give their best players to another team so that the gangster can bet on the results of the match and make a lot of money. The football team calls in Joe Bullitt, who's a friend of theirs and is kind of a local hero, and he has to track down the bad guys, stop them when they kidnap a couple of football players. He has to get those guys back and stop the main baddie. As I said, the movie is incredibly low budget, but it's got some great scenes and it's got some crowd scenes at the football matches. It has some action scenes. There's one where Joe Bullitt rescues a couple of people from a Volkswagen, which is in a flooded river because someone has just blown up a local dam. There's another scene where Joe Bullitt and Beauty, the kind of love interest in the movie, are trapped in a room with an Egyptian cobra. Though, if you're an animal lover, there is actually a cobra killed in this movie. And, yeah, it's a bit icky. There's a really great action scene at the end where Joe Bullitt chases the bad guy up some gantries and some steel ladders onto enormous pieces of machinery. Ken Gampu is really athletic in that part. He does actually some good stuff all through the movie. He can throw knives, he can do kung fu, all sorts of things. But in this part, he's climbing up these ladders, and the bad guy throws a 44-gallon steel drum at him. The actor Ken Gampu was actually injured by that, and they weren't even sure he was going to live. But a couple of weeks later, he was back on set, and you see the bit where the guy throws this enormous 44-gallon drum down off the gantry at him, and it's a pretty bloody hair-raising stunt bit. That scene ends really nicely. There's a nice finish to the film, and for a low-budget movie shot in 3:2 aspect ratio, so it's not widescreen at all. And for the most part, it doesn't look like they had a lot of choice in lenses either. But allowing for that, the movie moves along really fast. There are some non-professional actors in there, so if you're not really good with the South African accents, you do have optional English subtitles in there. It's a lot of fun to watch, and it shows that people will make movies if they have the opportunity to. In the same way that Hollywood and Who Killed Captain Alex, the movie from Uganda, was made. This movie was made by people who had to make a movie, and you've got to respect that. I hear there was a sequel to Joe Bullitt made in the early 1980s called Bullet on the Run, but I can't find out very much about it. The IMDb page is very sparsely populated with information, and I've done a quick search, and I can't seem to find a physical copy of it anywhere. It could be a lost film because Joe Bullitt itself was almost a lost film. But 88 Films in England have put this out on Blu-ray. It's got some extras in it. It's got an interview and commentary by the producer. It's got some essays by other people. There's an audio commentary track with Tony van der Merwe, the writer-producer of Joe Bullitt, Callum Wadler, documentary filmmaker, and Benjamin Crowley. There's a trailer for it, there's English subtitles, and there's reversible sleeves. So for a movie that's this obscure, it really does have more extras than we could possibly have expected. I found out about this movie in a weird way. NITV, National Indigenous Television, which is one of our TV channels here, showed Joe Bullitt about 2 or 3 years ago. And it came up on the ads that I saw, and I watched about 20 minutes of it because I was doing other things at the time, and I thought, yeah, I've got to find a copy of this movie. And then I found a copy of this movie. But this is one of those movies that kind of renewed my love of really obscure cinema, where people with few resources and people who are marginalised find a way to make a film, and somehow the film survives into this very century, in spite of the fact that so many other movies like it have been lost because people just haven't had the ability to preserve them. And for me, one movie like Joe Bullitt makes up for a whole bunch of crap ordinary movies that are made just to fill content. And you see a little bit of that on Netflix as well. There are movies that are being made on Netflix which are just made there because Netflix needs content. They're not particularly good, they're not bad, but they're not particularly good. They're just there so that people will watch that particular platform. And these movies are worth 100 of those. They're made with passion. They're made by resourceful people who weren't even sure they could get it made, but they somehow did. Check out Good Joe Bullitt if you get a chance to. It may turn up on a platform. I wonder if it'll turn up on Tubi at all. But one way or the other, I hope it turns up somewhere so that people can access it, because it's nowhere near a perfect film. It's nowhere near a professional level film. But it's got its own passion, it's got action, and it shows us things we haven't seen before, and that is really important for film buffs. Thank you for watching again. As always, subscribe, like, leave a comment, and hit the notification bell. I'm trying to get up to 10% subscribers, so if you haven't subscribed and you watch the channel, consider subscribing, because I'm at about 6% of the people watching my videos are actually subscribed. And it'd be nice to bump that up a little bit, because it then makes it worthwhile for me to do other things with the channel, like live streams and stuff like that. So anyway, take care of yourselves, follow the science, wear a mask over your nose and your mouth as well. It's not a chin strap, it's not a gag, it's a mask. And as always, watch good movies, watch bad movies, watch marginal movies that survive against the odds. And I'll catch you next time.